With every passing day, hundreds and thousands came to him. His home became a mandir with a moving and loving, smiling and playful deity. Yes, it was him and only him who turned everyone's tears into streams of bliss. As the bud blossomed to reveal 1,000 petals, it can only be said that the fragrance of the first few years is unique.
Invariably, every day, Swami would come and tell the ladies who would prepare food, "Ee roju inni chuttalu ostunnaru," Swami would say. Very beautiful. Chuttalu in Telugu means relatives. Swami would not say bhaktulu ostunnaru. Swami will not say devotees are coming or visitors are coming. Swami would say chuttalu ostunnaru. And Swami would say these many number of people are coming, prepare food for them. So never it happened that they prepared less. And if at all it happened, Swami was there to say Akshaya and would multiply. And even during dinner, when it is bright and sunny, there is one kind of leelas that can happen. When it is dark, different kind of leelas can happen.
That night at about 3 o'clock, Swami came to my mother where she was sleeping, slowly tapped her and said, "Get up, get up." She got up and Swami said, "I'm feeling very hungry. Can you make me dosa for me?" When Swami asked, "Can you say no? How much difficult it may be?" She said, "Yes, Swami, I will do it, I'll do it." And then she called me also to help her. And she made the duff to make the dosa. In those days, Swami, how to use no chairs, no sofas, nothing, a tin box. And we used to put a small pillow. Swami used to come and sit there. That is his throne. Like that. So when she was about to make the dosha, Swami said, see, you should not make noise. If it makes noise, everybody will get up. And Mummy was shocked. "Swami, what are you saying? If I make dosa, it will make noise. Without noise, how come?" Then Mummy said, "Swami, I am going to make the dosa. It is your duty. See that it doesn't make noise." Okay. She made the dosa. There was no noise at all. And Swami happily ate 3 dosa and went back. So next day, Swami sat for his breakfast. And there was one lady called Sakama who used to take care of Swami. And we kept all the breakfast other day. Swami was about to take his breakfast. Then he started doing like this. We know what game he's going to play. We know very well. Oh, come on, now we are going to get into trouble. Immediately Sakama came running. "Swami, what is wrong with you?" It's stomachache. With a serious face, as if he's really having pain, pretending like that. He said, "See, this Radhama last night woke me up at 3 o'clock and made me eat 3 dosa." Then we were really so surprised, we were so shocked when he's saying that. What can we say?
P.V. Krishnamurti, I'm mentioning his name because P.V. Krishnamurti was one of the relatives of Karnam Subbamma. He and his brother-in-law, his name is D.N. Krishnamurti. These two were the people who built the Naga shrine you see opposite the Ganesh Mandir today. Swami would take a small lamp and come walking all the way to Subbamma's house just to see them and see if all of them are settled. So P.V. Krishnamurti's mother, she had prepared the food. There was some sambar rice and curd rice. So she made all the children and grandchildren sit around, and she was putting a morsel of food in each one of their hands. Right? This is a very common sight in some of our Indian families. So there was this family dinner going on, and Swami would come and Swami would see this sight. It's all dark. So Swami would put off the lamp and sneak into that crowd, into that small group, and he would put his hand and he would eat. And suddenly the mother would hear, today food is very nice, in a different voice, and when she looks up, it will be Swami who will be laughing. Or sometimes when she is giving food, somebody will hold the mother's hand tightly, and she'll wonder who's this boy who's doing like this, and then Swami would laugh out aloud. Or sometimes when people are cooking food, dinner, Swami would sneak behind and close their eyes from behind. Many of these little things which are very common in families, but Swami did not merely say Chuttalu because he was behaving like that. These were the people who belonged to Swami. And after they complete their dinner in this manner, it was time to sleep. In the Patha Mandiram, the beautiful thing was Swami was everything. So when everybody would go to bed, Swami would take a torch and he would go around. Why? To see if there are any snakes and scorpions, because they used to live with the snakes and scorpions around. So Swami would go around to ensure that none of these creatures are coming close by. And that was another miracle which the devotees had noticed, that there were so many of these creatures around, but not once a devotee had a complaint of, I had a snake bite, I had a scorpion bite. See, today if we look at Patha Mandiram, we say that, Swami is the deity, Swami is divinity, Swami is the avatar. But in those days, what did the innocent villagers think? This is a mandir. Here is a Swamiji. So if there is a mandir, what do? You go and tell the pujari, give aarti and give me prasadam. So the villagers would come to Patha Mandir and wake up Swami or call Swami and say, Swami, give aarti to your altar and give me prasadam. So in that way, Swami was everything in the Patha Mandir. He was the watchman, he would help in the cooking, he would do all of these things. Also for the villagers, he was their personal deity who was there.
One day it so happened, some devotees came from Bangalore. They bought a big bunch of bananas. As soon as we saw bananas, my God, as if we have never seen bananas because we have not eaten. We are so taken by it. Oh, come on. Swami told one gentleman, keep that bunch in my room. Okay. We thought Swami will give us the bananas later. So that my two brothers used to, Murthy and Amba, they used to live with Swami, sleep with Swami. So that night they also slept in the room. Swami looked at them, are you hungry? Yes, Swami, we are really hungry. After seeing that bananas, they felt like eating. They said, come on, you eat. Two of them finished a bunch of bananas they eat because they were so hungry. Now what about the peel? Swami said, don't open the door and put the peel outside, then everybody will see it doesn't look nice. Put it under my cot. Tomorrow morning we can clean it. Okay. Morning, he got up at 6 o'clock as usual, 5 o'clock as usual. He called my mother, said, see what your children have done. They ate all the bananas. They didn't even care to put the peels outside. They put under my car. Oh, it is getting so bad smell. I could not sleep for the whole night. And naturally, Mummy was so angry. All the ladies were, how can you do that? But these two boys were shocked. They were surprised. They don't know what to say. They can't say, Swami asked us to eat, and we can't say that. So they were just blinking.
Brother Prem was saying how Swami would go around and look out for the scorpions and snakes. Possibly, if we are having a satsang among the crawling creatures, among the scorpions and snakes, and narrating how Bhagwan in the daytime would ensure that none of the humans come and harm them, and at night he would come and do leelas with them, because they are also devotees. Whoever came to Bhagwan are devotees. Without his will, even an ant cannot come to him. That is why let us not be deluded into thinking that we took a flight, we took a bus, we took a train and landed up in Prashanti. We can't land up in Prashanti like that. If anybody asks us how you went to Prashanti, let us say we went because Swami called. Anything that is dear to Swami became dear to the devotees. So whether they liked bhajans or not, because Swami likes bhajans, they would do bhajans. And as I said, Swami would sit for 2-3 hours for bhajans. And when Swami sits for bhajans, Bhagwan would start sweating profusely. Because there's no fan, there's nothing. And people will come and heap garlands on him. It's amazing. But Swami would sit and his robe would be dripping wet. He would go and change. From early time itself, Swami had different dogs with him. Swami himself speaks about his classmates, Ramesh and Paresh, who were reborn as Jack and Jill, Swami says. So Jack and Jill were actually 2 Pomeranians, and they were very loyal to Swami. They would always be around Swami, and they would in fact listen to whatever Swami told them. Seeing them itself, people did not feel that these are dogs. They felt that these are beings in the form of dogs. Those of us who have seen Sai Gita will be able to understand that, because when we saw Sai Gita, the way she responded, there was that moment when all of a sudden the students in the hostel heard the trumpet of Sai Gita, and this was their indication those days that Bhagwan is coming. There was no police car with a siren that would go ahead of Swami's vehicle. Nothing else excited Sai Gita the way Swami's arrival would excite her. In fact, many of us have seen how the moment she will see Swami, Sai Gita will start urinating in excitement. On one occasion, when the students who were chanting Vedas were behind Sai Gita and Swami arrived and Sai Gita got excited, they all moved back to avoid the waterfall. And Swami came and told, "Why are you running away? Drink a cup of that, possibly you will get a bit of her devotion." So that was the devotion of Sai Gita. She would come running, and on one occasion when she came running out like that, Swami's car was proceeding on the road, she came and blocked the road. This was something Sai Gita would never do. And when she blocked the road, the students were trying and the Mahout was trying to move her so that Swami's car can proceed, but she would just not allow. Finally, Swami got down. Swami began to plead, "Gita, take your trunk off from the car. If your trunk is on the car, I can't move. You take the trunk off." But Sai Gita didn't respond. So then Swami took out baskets of fruit which were there in the car. See, the Lord knows the devotee, and therefore, even before Swami came, he has packed his car with fruits. But today, the devotee is not accepting the fruits. Sai Gita is not eating the apple. Sai Gita is not eating the fruits. She's just refusing to move. Finally, Swami says, "Okay, Gita, I won't go. I'm going back to Mandir." And Sai Gita immediately moves back. The devotee may not, the Lord may know the devotee, but the true devotee also knows the Lord. And Swami then turned to the boys and he said, "I was going to Vrindavan now." And everybody was shocked. "Oh, Swami, but what to do now? Gita is not allowing me, so I'm going to go back." That was the kind of understanding Gita had with Swami, which is not possible for humans, forget animals. So that was the kind of relationship Jack and Jill shared with Swami. They were just in the animal form for a purpose. And Swami actually made a memorial for Jack and Jill in the Pathamandiram. A tulsi plant was planted over it, a tulsi matam. And that is the love of the devotee for the Lord for the devotee. I'm sure Jack and Jill went up the hill, never to come back again, because they were one with the Lord now. Jack and Jill were Pomeranians. After Jack and Jill, as Professor Kasturi records in the Satyam Shivam Sundaram, there were Lily and Billy, Chitty and Bitty. Somehow they came together, I think, always in pairs. And then there were the Cocker Spaniels, Minnie and Mickey, Honey and Goldie. And there were also the Alsatians, Rover and Rita, Tommy and Henry. Apart from taking the devotees to Chitravati, he would also take them for picnics, many picnics. And they used to be called as Vana Bhojanam. Vana means forest, Bhojanam means food. food in the forest. Picnic means again fun. Different ways of doing the same fun. You know, Swami gives variety. Just like Swami says, it's the same sugar, but you have jalebi, Mysore pak, jamun, laddu, different sweets. So that you get different flavors. The same sugar you eat in different forms. So the same sweetness of Bhagwan, the devotees would experience in different forms. In Patamandiram, on Chitravati, during picnics. And the same things, the Leelas, the Mahimas. In fact, Miss Leela, her name is also Leela. She is the daughter of Lokanatha Mudaliyar, whom we will hear about again and again. He is associated with the Gindi temple, Shirdi Baba temple. He was one of the earliest devotees who came to Bhagwan. So Miss Leela records that once when they had gone for a picnic like this, it began to rain and pour. There are many occasions when Bhagwan has willed the clouds away. So this time what Bhagwan did is he pointed out to one area where there was a rock jutting out from the hillock. Swami said, let's take shelter under that. But as more and more people started coming, that rock was not jutting out sufficiently. And therefore, Swami just raised his hand and pulled the rock. Pulled it as if it was some extendable roof, and pulled it till how much ever the devotees needed to be sheltered.
Gopala Bala Sai, Gokula Leela Sai, Gopala Bala Sai, Gokula Leela Sai.
Of course, the other thing that would happen is the devotees would enjoy swinging Swami. Swami would sit on the swing. The swing would not be some modern fabricated one. They would take two ropes tied to a tall branch of a tree and put a piece of wood in between, and Swami would sit and Swami would tell them to swing.
Rakshaka Sai, Gopala Bala Sai.
And he will tell, push further, push further. They would get scared because they don't want to push Swami so far. Then Swami would himself stand on it and swing himself. And they record how Swami would go so high that he would get lost in the branches. And they would get scared and Swami will tell, don't worry. In fact, on one occasion, when Swami began to swing, he began to go higher and higher. Finally, the devotees got scared and said, Swami, enough, please get down, enough, Swami. And suddenly, the branch to which the swing was tied snapped. And the whole thing came crashing down. The branch has come crashing down, there is no Bhagwan. And interestingly, the branch of the tree, they say, was thicker than the trunk of the tree itself. So it is not an ordinary branch. And Swami came from behind the tree and said, anything? What happened? You're looking for me? They were all so relieved to see their Swami. See, that is one more thing. When Swami would live with them, one among them, it was very easy for them to forget his reality. Many of us have experienced that, and that's why Swami keeps telling us, just because I move around with you, walk like you, talk like you, eat with you, don't think of me as one among you. I have come so that I can elevate you to one among myself. I have come, the descent of God is for the ascent of man. Later on, Swami revealed to them that a spirit had possessed this tree and it was waiting for liberation. It reminds one of those glorious days in the Dwapara Yuga when Bhagwan Krishna walked through those two sal trees and dropped them and two beings got liberated,
I recall an old student narrating this incident once. It happened in Vrindavan much later. One day Swami was giving darshan and Swami walked up to this very concerned looking lady in the devotee section. And Swami also reflected that concern which was there in her. And the student was behind Swami, so he happened to hear the conversation which happened. So Swami goes to that lady and says, what happened? What did the doctors say? And this lady gets up with all seriousness and she says, Swami, the doctor has said that cesarean has to be performed. And Swami gives a very pensive look. And Swami waves his hand, materializes little vibhuti, gives it to that lady. And Swami, don't worry, everything will go on fine. Ask the doctors to do what they have to do. So she goes away. The next day, Swami comes for darshan and from the corner of his eyes, he sees that lady sitting there. The moment Swami notices her, Swami kind of walks quickly towards her. And Swami asks, what happened? And she is having a satisfied smile now. She says, Swami, all is fine. Generally, what is the question that you would expect Swami to ask? Boy or girl? But Swami goes up to that lady and asks, how many? And that lady with a very happy smile, she says, Swami, 4. And it is after that this boy realized that the cesarean was for the pet dog in the house, and the 4 were the 4 puppies that cesarean produced. So when you say Swami is for everybody, Swami's grace is for everybody, it so truly is. And that is how these beings responded to. One of the dogs, which was also mentioned at that time, one of the earliest dogs which Swami got, even before Jack and Jill, was Chitti, if I'm not wrong. One devotee by name Navneetam Naidu from Bangalore gave Swami this dog. And this dog would fast on Thursdays. These are beings other than humans. But Swami could infuse life even to inanimate objects. And there's one more beautiful incident about that. As I said, apart from being the deity of the old mandir, Swami also became the pujari sometimes. Swami would give the aarti. Swami would sit in front of the altar and do the puja. On one such occasion, all the devotees had gathered there. The altar was decked up and there was an idol of Ganesha. And very playfully, Swami must have given a mischievous smile. He picked up a handful of flowers and he threw it at that Ganesha like making an offering of flowers. And the moment Swami did that, the garland around Ganesha rose up like a snake's hood. And it started dancing to the bhajan which was being sung. And everybody who was sitting there was seeing this, and Swami was smiling. And it went on for an entire bhajan or maybe for some time. And then Swami again took a handful of flowers, threw at it, and it subsided. So he was for the beings other than human beings, as he said, scorpions and snakes and dogs and cats. He was also for inanimate objects. He would make them come alive and bless them maybe. He was also for beings which had moved on from this world. Because one of the other events which would happen very, very regularly is they would bring devotees or people who were possessed by ghosts. It used to happen so often that almost everybody who has come to Swami at that time have witnessed at least one event like this, where the villagers would bring a lady or a man who is possessed, and they would bring him to Swami's or her to Swami's presence. And what would Swami do? Typically, Swami would go to that person and Swami would start conversing with the spirit. Swami would ask, where are you from? Why have you come into this body? And what these devotees had noticed was, on many occasions, these were all humble villagers, unlettered, uneducated. But sometimes these villagers would start singing praises of God in chaste Telugu, in languages which the villagers themselves don't know. They would start singing songs. And sometimes when they could understand what that conversation was, they heard the spirits telling Swami, Swami, we have come to have your darshan. We found that this is the only way we can come to you. We have come to you through this body. And Swami would bless that person, bless the spirit in that person. And of course, Swami would do some other rituals, like you would pluck a hair and you would make a talisman with it and give it to that person. But they would see all of these things. There would be some spirits who would be devotees of Lord Narsimha or Lord Vittala, who would have come to Swami to have Swami's darshan. And would say, we have come to offer our pranams to you. And many such events happened, but it completely stopped after the year 1950. When Swami inaugurated the Prasanthi Nilayam and Swami moved here, Swami declared that whoever comes into this ambit of Prasanthi Nilayam, if they are possessed by any ghosts or spirits, they will be relieved of it. Swami does not have to do this. Actually, Swami never had to do it. Right? Swami never had to perform any ritual to effect any grace. But Swami was doing that, but Swami told, henceforth, nothing like this needs to be done. You just bring that person here. The moment they step in, they will become calmer. I don't know about people who are possessed, but how many of us walk into Prasanthi Nilayam and become calmer? Being possessed of anger, we get calmer. Being possessed of jealousy, we become calmer. So that blessing of you step in and you will become Prashantam was not only for people afflicted by inner enemies, but even for those who are possessed by these spirits.